Speed stretches far and rain. Stretches far.
Woo! I love to roll. Rolling's great. Today I'm going to talk about a key principle of gymnastics that I really think that every parent at home should not only know, but teach their kids. When we think of swimming for children under the age of, say, 8, we often think of it as a safety skill first and a sport second. What I want to do today is get you to your perception of gymnastics, or an element of it, specifically the rotation part and the rolling part. I want you to think of that as a safety skill first and a sport second. When we take our young kids to swimming, there's a great swim school just around the corner. We take them there so they don't drown, ultimately. So they have this basic life skill, because at some point in their life they're going to be make contact with waters, whether it's a lake, creek, pool, ocean. We should really think about gymnastics, and we should take our children to gymnastics for the same reason. Not just because it's a great sport that's transferable to a lot of other sports, and not just because it's fun, but because it's actually a lifesaver. Elements of it are a lifesaver. So I know that sounds like a bit of a big claim, and I'm not trying to, necessarily strike fear into the heart of anybody, but I do want to really stress the point that we need to change our perception about an element of gymnastics, and that's the rotation part. In 2001, I was in Los Angeles, and I was over there. I was teaching Kung Fu in Santa Monica, and I was lucky enough to meet one of the relatives of the Flying Cardona family. They were a famous mighty trapeze family back in the early 1900s. First guy to do a quadruple somersault to a catcher. And the father that I met, he had a whole range of articles that the family had given him, these original articles, and he enabled me to sort of photocopy them and take them home. And if you're ever in the studio, one of those I've got to print out, and it's on the wall, and take the time to read that. It's all about learning to fall. I just want to read an element from that now. And he wrote it beautifully, and so let me quickly go through this transcript. He said, "The chief concern of a person unfamiliar with the life of a circus performer usually runs to their insatiable curiosity concerning our fear of falling. The question necessitates a qualified answer. We don't fear falling, but we are not afraid we are going to fall. We know we are going to fall. And all we can do about it is prepare ourselves that the results will be as negligible as possible." He goes into detail about a particular, accident or a time that he was, missed a catch and he was falling. But the last part of the article is really important. He says, "Please understand, I do not mean to convey the impression that falls of a circus performer are childish matter, and that they are not dreaded. There are many times when, in spite of everything one can do, the ambulance is summoned. But there are times when a Herculean spasm of tumbling tricks in mid-air maneuvers has saved a life. Falls come from natural causes like gravity. The pool is always there. We never escape that pool. But we can learn to master it by practicing it and respecting it." He finishes by saying, "Incidentally, it is something that more people should know." So I love the line that stands out for me. Falls come from gravity. The pool is always there. We can't escape it. And it's really important. And that's why I feel that the rotational element of gymnastics is a lifesaver. There's going to be some point in your life, and not just as a child, there'll be some point in your life where you take a fall and you end up upside down. It might be at the age of 4, you fall off a couch. It might be the age of 8 and you fall off of monkey bars upside down. It might be the age of 15 and you're on a skateboard and you come off and you go head first. Or it might even be at the age of 40 and you come off your bike and you go over the handlebars. And what you need to do is you need to train your reaction to that rotation so it becomes instinctive and it'll save your life. What happens when you rotate is that you get lost. It's like going on a giant roller coaster for the first time. The whole thing is a blur. But the more times you do it, the more times you understand where you are and you're not lost. And what the brain does when you're lost and you're rotating, it tells you to do the most natural thing. And that's to stick your head out and try to work out where you are. And what does a turtle do when it's in danger? It pulls its neck back in. Because it's learnt. It's an instinctive habit. And what we need to do is train that same reaction. It doesn't come instinctively to most children or to anybody. You've got to train it. The most natural thing is to do the worst thing, and that's to stick your head out and go, whoa, what's happening? Where am I? And what it does, it exposes all of this area to a much greater impact. So it needs to be trained. It needs to become a natural reaction. The little saying that I say to the kids is chin in, save skin. Say that with me. Chin in, save skin. Tuck it in, come up with less damage. We have to train this muscle memory, so it's a bit like swimming. It becomes that ingrained that it saves our life. I was riding with my dog only about 8 years back, maybe been 5. And someone had pinched my bike, so I borrowed somebody else's bike at the gym and it didn't have a light. And I was just riding with my dog around this path at night that we usually go, but the council workers had dug out a big ditch and I couldn't see it because the bike didn't have a light. And I hit that ditch and I went over the top and I landed on the concrete and I landed on the top of my head. I didn't have a helmet on and I should have been wearing a helmet, but helmet or not, what actually saved me was my natural reaction. As soon as I felt myself flying through the air, and it happened without me realizing, and I didn't know where the ground was in relation to my rotation, so I couldn't see anything because it was pitch black, I tucked my chin in. Because I've been tucking my chin in since I was 7 years old. I tucked my chin in. I landed here. Part of my hands took the brunt of the fall. My shoulders were sore for about a month. I had to obviously go and to hospital and check that there wasn't any internal bleeding and everything was good. But if I didn't have that skill, helmet or not, and I started to rotate and I threw my head out and I hit here, I could have ended up in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. So my advice to all parents is to get kids rolling and to get them doing it as often and as frequently as you can. If you come home and they've destroyed the couch and they've created a little adventure park where they're rolling down it, don't tell them off, encourage them. This is a skill that every child should know. And as I said, I really want to change our perception of rotation from gymnastics being fun to it being safety first, sport second.